Hey, everyone. It's Sleepy Reader, a.k.a. Damien, back with my comic book countdown, kind of a minor version of the countdown this time around. It's Tuesday night. I'm going to look at the five comics I got from January 12th, last Wednesday. It's practically midnight, so it's practically the next Wednesday now. And, hey, what's that? Initially, I only got one comic from my comic book shop, and later I dropped by Cosmic Monkey a few days after that and picked up some other comics, and so I at least have five to talk about. It would have been a slow week anyway, but also just lots of comics did not get delivered. So, and it, overall was not a great week for me for comics, unfortunately. It goes that way sometimes. In at number 5 is The Thing from Marvel, this miniseries. I'm not sure how many issues there's supposed to be. Written by Walter Mosley, a very well-respected kind of literary mystery writer, an African-American, has done some really cool stuff. He's even done a science fiction novel. He's done some novels with historical settings and whatnot. I think I read one of his mystery novels a long time ago, but I mostly know him by reputation. I don't think he can write comic books, at least not yet. And so for me, it was a frustrating read. At times the art was cool, but I don't like the way this artist draws The Thing at all. So it's kind of sad. And this artist might be good on something that's less superhero-ish. You can see here, at least I personally don't like the way he drew fight scenes. Why The Thing is fighting this guy, who this guy is, why The Thing is sleeping with a woman he just met when he just had Alicia ask him to put their relationship on a hold, a little break. Things just seem to happen with no rhyme or reason almost. I'm sure there is a rhyme or reason behind it all. Walter Mosley's a very smart man, but I don't feel like he has a hang of writing comics yet. Will I keep getting this? I guess the question is like, how many more issues are there? If it's going to be 12 issues, I think I should drop it right now. If it's just one more issue, maybe I should stick with it and see how it all adds up. So that was my number 5 book. Did I call it my number 1 book? My number 5 book, the one I get the least enjoyment out of. My number 4 book, I didn't get a whole lot of enjoyment out of either. I did enjoy this cover a lot. And the opening sequence wasn't too bad, where this drunk guy, or at least we learn later he was drunk, he just seems to not be doing much. Is the person riding the giant robot and trying to fight a kaiju who looks kind of like one of those microscopic creatures blown up. But this part wasn't bad. And then the entire rest of the comic was scenes of people talking. And it wasn't totally uninteresting, but it wasn't super grabbing me either. I have a vague sense it could be setting the stage for a lot of interesting things. It's possible this might make a good read in trades, but it's hard for me to imagine that I'll pick up the next issue. And you never know. I might flip through it and it might look different, and I might get all excited about it. It seems to be that there's just one family who fights kaijus in these giant mechanized suits, and the only member of the family still doing it was the drunk guy, and now they're trying to get this woman back into the fold and have her help fight the kaiju. And I guess by the end of the issue, she agrees to that. So another book that was sort of a disappointment to me was Hotel or Hell, which is an anthology series of some sort. This is volume 2, and I'd heard good things about volume 1. And in fact, somewhere in my pile of stuff, I have a copy of the trade of Hotel Volume 1 that I bought, maybe mostly based on a comment by Chaos and Comics by Chris Sarda about it being kind of like Ice Cream Man. And I can see where that is, a series of horror stories. So I also read issue 1 of volume 2. Both of these, I think issue 1 was a little better. Both of these are put together in kind of a clunky style. There was kind of a, you can, if you're comparing it to Ice Cream Man, it's like Ice Cream Man does a whole lot more with a whole lot less in terms of words and stuff. The writer of Hotel just does not have that storytelling flair, that rhythm to the story. The second one was a bit more mysterious about what was happening, but there were some cool aspects to it. Depending on the week, I could see giving Hotel another chance. There's something fun about short stories that are horror stories and that are centered around a certain hotel. I don't know how much having read the first volume might make me more in the groove with this series. I don't know. So I'll probably get around to reading that trade and then decide whether to continue with volume 2. So that was what my number 3 book. And then in at number 2 was The King of Spies, which is not a bad read at all, but it's I'm not super excited by it, but I'm kind of enjoying it. I originally picked up on it because of the Matteo Scalera art, and I feel like the art is still really good, but it's a little less distinctive than other Matteo Scalera work. I kind of think of him as being in the Sean Murphy vein, but I feel like when I saw him in Black Science, he had a bit more of his own unique style in that vein. And here, if I didn't know any better, or someone told me, "Oh, here's a work by Sean Murphy," I might believe them that it's a work by Sean Murphy. But plot-wise, basically, we got set up in the first issue, and exactly what you would think would happen from the first issue happens in the second issue. Our hero, the aged spy, James Bond, but much more evil, kind of, or much more amoral kind of character than even James Bond, is found out that he's dying, and so now he's decided to kill all the bad people who he knows or used to work with or just knows their dirty secrets. So much of this issue is a series of killings. And some of them are done in kind of an outrageous way, particularly after he jumps out of an airplane and one of the bodyguards of the U.S. president or the ex-U.S. president that he just killed grabs onto him and falls with him and starts biting his crotch. So that was probably the highlight of this. I think it's I think it's a 5-issue thing, and I'm having enough fun with it. I'll probably keep getting it. It's on my pull list, so it's sort of easier to just keep getting it than not. I think I'll keep getting it. I don't want to spoil the ending, I guess, but the characters who show up at the end seem extra ridiculous to me. I almost feel like is Mark Miller a little desperate to shock us still after all the times he's done shocking things before. And my other thought while reading this is I remembered thinking this before years ago when I read what was it called? Wanted? What was Mark Miller's? It was one of Mark Miller's comics that got turned into a movie about assassins, I think, or like a guy who becomes a member of a group of supervillains. Anyway, that ultimately what Mark Millar does when he has nothing else he can think up his sleeve is just get as sadistic as he can as a way of entertaining us. So my top pick, my number 1, much better than for my personal reading experience than all the other and the few others in this pile, was the final issue of Savage Avengers, number 28. And I read 26 and 27 and then 28 all in a row. But 28's kind of a coda, epilogue, and Jerry Dugan did a fantastic job. I also loved the loved the final twist in number 27 of how they, I think it happened at the end of 27, of how they finally resolved how they will stop, what's the dude's name? Not Shumagorath, that's the giant demon. Kulan Gath, how they will really stop Kulan Gath, how they keep him from repeating his crimes through time with all these time loops. There were times where Savage Avengers felt like it was a little too drawn out with these endless fight scenes. I still enjoyed them, but I was a little bit, momentarily underwhelmed here and there where the fight scenes went on too long. But it redeemed itself really well here, and throughout, Patrick Zurcher's art has been great, and I think it's kept getting better for the most part. There are moments where it seems rushed, but a lot of the artwork throughout this series has been really great. Are the covers? I don't think the covers are by the same artist. Let's see on this one. Color art is Valerio Giangordano. I really they've had some great covers on these, but the art on the inside by Patrick Zurcher is close enough that it's pretty satisfying, and I do think there's a little something like I don't want to say his artwork's close to perfect for the kind of thing he's doing, but in a way it's pretty close in certain ways, but I would like his artwork to be a little more fluid, a little more sense of motion to it, and I almost wonder if a different colorist could give that to him. The coloring was fine throughout here. It's not like I didn't like the coloring. I was just trying to figure out, somehow I keep enjoying the Patrick Zurcher art, but keep wanting it to be something a little more, and maybe it's the colorist, maybe it would just be a slightly different inking style. Not that I would definitely pick up more books drawn by Patrick Zurcher, and I would definitely, he's definitely an artist to follow for action comics and things with a lot of violence and imaginative settings and such. I hope he gets a good assignment after Savage Avengers, and maybe it would be great probably if he and Jerry Duggan work together again. So that was really satisfying, and I feel the urge to go back and read the entire series. I have to scrape through all my disorganized boxes to find all the different issues. So there's two other comics that I read in the past day or two that really lifted up my spirits in terms of loving comics. One was something I had missed. I didn't read issue 6 before when it came out of the Dragon Below conspiracy by the older reprints of Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo. The cover's not by Sakai, but the insides are what we expect from Stan Sakai. The slight, his art's shifted slightly since then. Since whenever this was published, I wish they would tell you when this was published, where it was in kind of the cycle of Usagi comics. But anyway, I'd say of all the colorized Usagi that I've been reading, the Dragon Below conspiracy has been my least favorite. And that's not to say it's still kind of a fun to read favorite comic. But Usagi is at such a high level, it was a little bit clicking with me a little less. But kind of like with the Savage Avengers, but even more strongly, all of that changed with the final issue, which also is a bit of an epilogue, showing what happens after the big victory, when the bad guys are overcome, and showing the fate of several different characters, not just Usagi, and just really satisfying, really well done, and setting in place interesting potential for future stories. So I'm hoping there are stories that kind of lead from the events of this Dragon Below conspiracy, and I hope they do get reprinted in these color editions. Usagi still, never fails me. I am so glad I get both the Usagi books, these reprint books, and the new books, all of which come out quite regularly. The next reprint series is called Lone Goat and Kid. So I wonder if there's going to be some purposeful relationship with, what's it called? Now I can't remember. Lone Wolf and Cub, or whatever that's called, that famous samurai manga, which I keep meaning to go back and read more of. I only read maybe part of the first volume once upon a time. Another comic, completely different, that I really enjoyed and gave me faith in the Bronze Age comics was The Incredible Hulk, number 164. It's written by Steve Englehart, so that's always a positive sign. A lot of Steve Englehart work is very good. And it's got good art by Herb Trimpe and inker Sal Trapani. There's, for me, kind of a sweet spot of Trimpe's artwork, and this is definitely in that sweet spot. I don't love all Trimpe artwork equally, but he does a really good job here, and we get a crazy pulp novel type of plot with this Captain Nemo-ish character, but more sort of over the top, living under the ocean and planning to eventually, claim the ocean and away from all the surface dwellers, and with Hulk in the mix. And I really enjoy this the childlike Hulk. There's something there's humor and there's pathos, and he's just kind of a wild card as he passes through this pulp plot, which could have been, like in a Doc Savage novel or something. But it's got the Hulk in it instead. These crazy toad whales were a lot of fun. Here's an example of just kind of a silly thing with the Hulk. The Hulk smashes his way out because he wants to get away, even though they've kind of rescued him from these crazy underwater people. So he smashes his way out of their underwater habitat. And as he goes out in the water, he thinks, Hulk is back in water. Must remember not to talk now. And that seems symbolic to me of the kind of thinking of the Hulk in here, which is kind of fun. So it was just a good package. I'll have to find the next issue because I think the story's continued. And there's a lot of stuff. Hulk's power's not unlimited. He does need to breathe. He can't deal with the bends. He can't deal with the rising up out of the water too quickly, that kind of thing, because he's very deep underwater and stuff. I just liked a lot of the touches of this. And this Captain Omen, is he called? Yeah, Captain Omen. He's been breeding humans for the pressures of the undersea world. It's just really fun and just well done, really well paced, and just what a fun comic should be. So until next time, I will hope that you are having a good comic book week, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.